But are we going to go all the way? Find out when we return. After the news with Moira Stewart.
BBC News at 7 o'clock on Tuesday the 9th of April. Good morning. Arrangements are being made for the funeral of Lady Thatcher, who died yesterday following a stroke. Scientists say carbon emissions will make flight to America more turbulent, longer and expensive. And Ethiopian monkeys may hold a vital clue to the evolution of human speech. Lady Thatcher's body has been moved from the Ritz Hotel in London, where she died yesterday after a stroke at the age of 87. An undertaker's van was escorted by police to an undisclosed location in readiness for her funeral at St Paul's Cathedral, which is expected to take place next week. Politicians from the Commons and the Lords are preparing to debate the legacy of Britain's longest-serving Prime Minister of the 20th century. Here's our Deputy Political Editor, James Landale.
Today, Westminster will draw breath as first thoughts on Lady Thatcher's death give way to more considered analysis of an extraordinary life in politics. Campaigning for the local elections is on hold as the party leaders stay in London to prepare for tomorrow's recall of Parliament. There will be tributes, of course, but all sides are expecting a genuine debate too, as MPs and peers put forward their conflicting views of her legacy on Britain and the world. In the early hours of this morning, a silver undertaker's van left the Ritz Hotel in London, where Lady Thatcher died. It headed for an undisclosed location, accompanied by an escort of police motorcycles.
People who oppose the politics of Lady Thatcher have been marking her death with street parties in Glasgow and at Brixton in South London. Police say there was low-level disorder in Brixton, missiles were thrown, but no arrests were made. The death of Lady Thatcher has reopened some of the political arguments which surrounded her years in power. The former Chancellor Lord Lamont said her economic policies, including privatisation, had a huge impact on Britain.
Many young people don't remember how we were regarded as the sick man of Europe. We had an appalling record for strikes. We were not attracting any foreign investment. The public finances were out of control, and we had inflation in double figures. And all that required a huge effort to turn around. And it had to be turned around by policies which were tough, which were going to be unpopular, and that was what she did.
The former Mayor of London, Ken Livingstone, was a vocal critic of Lady Thatcher's. He thinks she laid the foundations of the still continuing economic crisis.
She had a set of beliefs, she drove forward and she changed Britain. But I think it's much worse Britain. We had a society where we now see a huge housing crisis because you wouldn't let councils build. We used to have millions of well-paid jobs that working-class men did in manufacturing. That was wiped out because she favoured the banks.
Scientists studying climate change are predicting that flights across the North Atlantic could run into more turbulence in the future. Researchers at Reading University say they expect the speed and instability of winds at high altitude to increase turbulence by between 10 and 40% by 2050. They believe the change will not affect the safety of flying, but one of the researchers, Paul Williams, says it could lead to more expensive journeys as pilots try to avoid the worst affected areas.
It's certainly plausible that if flights get diverted more to fly around turbulence rather than through it, then of course the amount of fuel that needs to be burnt will increase, and fuel costs money, which airlines have to pay, and ultimately it could of course be passengers buying their tickets who see the prices go up.
The government is beginning a consultation on plans designed to save more than £200 million from the criminal legal aid budget in England and Wales. The announcement follows the introduction last week of measures to cut a bigger sum from the budget for civil cases. A bizarre sound made by a species of monkey that's found in mountains in Ethiopia could help to explain how human language evolved. That's the conclusion of a study published in the journal Current Biology. Rebecca Morell has more.
The call of the gelada, a species related to the baboon, is one of the most strange and complex in the primate world. Most monkeys and apes can only make the most basic sounds, and it's a puzzle why our closest relatives fall so short when it comes to language. But now scientists believe the gelada could hold the answer. Researchers found that the rhythm in the monkey's calls closely matched the patterns in human languages. The geladas were also rapidly moving their jaws, lips and tongues in much the same way we do as we speak.
Today's weather forecast: cloudy with rain in the south, showers further north, a chilly east wind. Top temperatures 9 Celsius in Cardiff, 8 in Belfast, 7 in London and 5 in Edinburgh. BBC News, it's 7:05.
Thank you, Moira.